Welcome to the Horror Hangout podcast, where two bearded film fans watch the 50 best horror movies ever and then talk about them. My name is Luke Kondo with K, and I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr. Ben Errington. Hey, Ben.
Hey, I usually say my name. Don't go.
Oh, sorry.
Don't go changing it up like that.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And,
I'll let you off.
Thank you very much. And today we're joined by a regular contributor, the guy who does the Excel spreadsheets. Is that you want to be introduced?
Oh yeah.
I think so. I mean, if you've got something, then stick with it, right?
Mr. Andy
Got
Turner. How's it going?
Hey guys, yeah, really good. Thank you, really good.
Do you have to introduce yourself as part of, I'm the guy who does the spreadsheets?
It depends where I am. Not at work because there's a guy on my team that does spreadsheets far better than I do, so I have to have another thing.
Oh, okay. Comics. You do comics and spreadsheets.
Yeah, that's it. I do comics when I'm at
Comics
work
and
spreadsheets
Yeah.
elsewhere.
So Andy has just done a half marathon today. So are you sat down, Andy? Are you?
I am. I'm
okay,
going to
cool.
remain sitting down for the next 24, 48 hours if I can do that.
Are you in an ice bath? I can't see like the bottom half of you.
Yeah, I've hollowed out the bed that I'm sitting on, just filled it with ice.
I was going to ask, do you like when you're running and stuff? Do you listen to podcasts or anything? Do you?
I do. I got through quite a few today on a half marathon, so it keeps me going. There's only a certain amount of music you can get through, and then I find that it throws your pace off. If the music goes too fast on like a random playlist, then you're knackered.
Yeah.
So I put a podcast on that's pretty even pace, so you can just crack on.
What podcast listen to?
Today, I've been doing some Do Go On backlog. Always a good laugh, that one. So went through a bit of that, and I listened to a little bit of movie maintenance as well. So I've been off with Australian podcasts today.
Cool. What about you, Ben? What have you been up to? Any half marathons?
No half marathons for me, unfortunately. I don't know if I could. Run out. It's been a long time since I've ran anything other than on a treadmill. I haven't been out into the actual big wide world running for a long time, so
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it. Could you do it? If you had to right now, Luke, could you stand up and do a half marathon?
I'd say no, but did you watch that Eddie Izzard documentary where he said I'm going to run?
Oh, well, he did like so many marathons.
I think I'm going to run 30 marathons, and then he
You
just
son
kind
of
of
a bitch, Eddie.
just kind of did it. I don't know. I don't understand. I'm sure my mindset must come into it, but I'd like to try. I just don't think I could do it right now. But Andy can,
No.
so well done, Andy.
Yeah, there we
Right.
go. Andy can and has.
Can't anymore. That's over.
Yeah. Cool. So today we're going to be cracking on with the list. We weren't sure if we were going to do Deep Blue Sea. Is that what it's called? Deep Blue Sea.
Mm-hmm.
Or the next on the list. We decided to do the next on the list, which is number 13. But before that, let's jump into some other horror guff. Andy, you seen anything cool?
Been going through a few bits of horror media recently. I have started and got about halfway through Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah.
It is weird.
How far
It
did
is-
you get? Yeah.
I've just got to the horrible twist
Okay, cool.
Like-
Good.
when it first becomes it first becomes a proper horror game. So
Yeah.
I've got to that bit, and then comics wise, I started reading the 30 Days of Night Run, which has been pretty good so far.
So
Done the first couple of those.
Ben Temple Smith, is it? Or who?
I haven't been paying attention. I know it's an IDW book,
Yeah.
but tend to read them quite late at night. There's no time to absorb information. But I've done the first couple of issues. It's been really good so far. It's been years since I saw the movie, so
I've heard it's better than the movie. Whether or not it's true, I don't know.
Yeah, the art style is really quite something, isn't it? And
Yeah.
30 Days and that.
it's quite a surreal art style. But it's really good. Been really enjoying it. And then I just this second, after watching the movie for today, saw the trailer for Open House. It's a Netflix original
Yeah.
Yeah.
horror film. I might give that a crack this week.
I've
I
heard
saw
heard some
a few
mixed
minutes-
reviews. Oh, go on, Ben.
Yeah, I saw a few minutes of it. My mum was watching it like a few days ago, and I don't know. I saw maybe like 3 or 4 minutes of it, and I was a bit like, "What is this?" And she kind of explained it to me, and I just went, "Not sure how I feel about that." It looked a bit naff, but I mean the trailer looked all right, so maybe worth a watch.
I heard The Ritual is supposed to come onto Netflix. Like it's gone on every country apart from the UK, and it looks pretty good. Ben, you saw The Ritual, like when
Yeah,
the
I saw the. I went to the cinema to see that. Yeah, I thought it was good. I really liked it. Better than I thought it was, and kind of like the threat as such was quite unique. So
Yeah, look forward to that. Andy, I'd definitely recommend Super Dark Times if you haven't already given it
I
a
know,
go.
I've added it to my list after you mentioned it last week. So
Yeah.
as I'm paralysed now, I'll probably watch quite a few movies in the next week.
Cool. What about you, Ben? What have you seen?
So I did watch the Cloverfield Paradox.
Oh
which
yeah,
I guess
okay,
you
cool.
can
Andy, have you seen it?
No, I'm hearing mixed things. When I say mixed, I mean mostly bad, but I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah, Ben, what do you?
Yeah,
reckon?
I mean it's definitely worth a watch. It's got like a really good cast. It just feels like a little bit disjointed, and it feels like one of those things like you're like, is this connected to the Cloverfield universe? Well, yeah, I guess, but then you could kind of like it feels a bit forced, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It just feels a bit forced, and some things that happen feel like just a bit ridiculous.
The coolest thing
And it was
I've seen about it.
it was almost a bit laughable in places.
Yeah,
go on.
it was. Yeah, the coolest thing I've seen about it is someone timed the first one
I
up
heard
with this
about
one, and if you watch, it's like 18 minutes in when the bad thing happens in this one, the same bad thing happens in the other one, and it's quite cool to see. It's like perfectly timed.
That's
it's quite
okay.
cool. Yeah. But
I also saw the Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I think a few people recommended that to me. I think maybe you were one of them as well, Luke. Have you seen that, Andy?
I have. I saw it quite a while ago now. Yeah, it was all right.
yeah,
It was all right.
I thought like atmosphere-wise, it was kind of spot on for the first 2/3,
Yeah.
and then I've just kind of felt like I didn't really want it to end like that. I don't know. It was a bit weird.
Atmosphere was good. It showed a lot less than some other films probably would have, which I appreciated. You know, it went up in my estimations based on that. But I also felt like it was maybe a little bit predictable. After about 2/3 in, it felt a bit predictable. You kind of felt like you knew where it was going to go. But still, I didn't really know anything about it. Just from when I was watching it, I thought it was maybe going to be like sort of a mystery thriller with possibly some horror elements, but I mean, it is straight up horror. So,
Well, the guy who made this is the guy who made Troll Hunter. Like this I think this is his first like American production. So it's quite cool to see him go over and do stuff over here or over there even. But Troll Hunter I absolutely loved.
I like Troll Hunter as well. Good.
So I watched Sinister again. Have you guys seen Sinister?
Is that the one with the guy in the film? Is it with Ethan Hawke?
Yeah, Ethan Hawke. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I haven't seen the second one.
Yeah, I watched it a while ago, and I think I must have just sort of written it off as Blumhouse kind of phone it in every now and again, and it's kind of like a standard ghost jump scare sort of thing. But I was listening to an interview with Scott Derrickson, the director, and he kind of pointed out loads of cool little things. I was like, I need to watch it again. And I think if they got rid of all the sort of cheesy jump scare stuff, the rest of it, like all the snuff films that you watch, they are really unsettling and really creepy. So if they just kind of kept with that stuff, I think it would have been way better. But
yeah, it's a really scary concept, I think, isn't it? It's just like maybe the little bit in the delivery, but yeah, it's good. I'd watch it again.
Yeah. Cool. So anybody else got anything else before we jump into the main meal?
I think so.
Cool. Okay, so number 13 on our list of best horror movies ever, I think is the most recent on the list. It's The Cabin in the Woods. Have you got the synopsis, Ben?
Yep, I do indeed. So The Cabin in the Woods is a 2012 American horror comedy film directed by Drew Goddard in his directorial debut, produced by Joss Whedon. Didn't know that. So the film stars Kristen Connolly, Chris Hemsworth, Anna Hutchison, Fran Kranz, and more. The plot follows a group of college students who retreat to a remote forest cabin where they fall victim to backwoods zombies and the two technicians who manipulate the ongoing events from an underground facility. See, that's quite a lot of information in a synopsis.
Yeah.
The IMDb one was much shorter than that. That gives the game away a little bit, but there we go. That's what we're here to do. Give the game away.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I keep forgetting about that.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, this is what our Empire film students had to say. A loving hate letter to the genre, as co-writer Joss Whedon called it. He co-wrote the film, Ben. The Cabin in the Woods successfully manages to skewer every conceivable horror trope, even as it utilises them for its own narrative gains. The fiendishly clever twist and self-reflexive perspective might dampen the scares for some, but this is still the most ingenious meta horror ever created. Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford's Desk Jockeys of the Damned are a particular highlight, while the final showdown, playing like a horror hall of fame, quite literally bursts with a pause or you'll miss it moments of gory glee. It's got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7 out of 10 on IMDb. Duncan Everson on the group said, I watched this for the first time a few weeks ago and loved it. Looking forward to seeing it again soon. Tommy Drape said, I love that film. I like how much humour they have in it and then go batshit in the final third. Have you guys seen it before? Is this the first time? What's your history with it? Go on, Andy.
Yeah. Go on, Andy. Go.
Go. I saw it at the cinema. I went and saw it, and I think I really enjoyed it, especially because it wasn't spoiled. Like early on, I went in, and I think aside from a little clip where you see a bit of the force fieldy stuff, but it's not enough to make any sense. You see that in the trailer, but it doesn't give the game away about the underground facility stuff. So I went in expecting a pretty run-of-the-mill horror film. I knew that they'd actually made it before Chris Hemsworth did Thor, but basically after he became really famous, then they gave it a cinema release. So
okay, interesting.
So it came out. I was expecting a horror film, which I enjoy anyway, and then I was blown away. I loved it. It was really funny and it was really surprising. And like the synopsis says, it banks on so many of those old cliches and plays them in an interesting way. Came out, raved about it. I think I made my wife come and see it. She didn't come to cinema with me the first time. She went with a couple of mates. I had to get her to come and see it again. She's like, "Oh, what's so special about this? Just sit down, just watch it."
Yeah. And
she loved it as well. She normally doesn't watch films with me for podcasts or whatever like that, but she just sat and watched this one as well. That she loves it.
Yeah, it's really good. What about you, Ben? Have you seen it before?
Yeah, I've seen it before. I think I've seen it a couple of times before.
Yeah.
I think the first time I saw it again, I don't think it was spoiled for me beforehand. I don't think I saw it at the cinema, but I think I just didn't really know all that much about it. I think I possibly seen a trailer. So yeah, when it sort of played out, I was kind of a bit blown away by it, and then afterwards, I think I was a bit like, oh, I'm not too sure about that. Sat on it for a while, and then obviously I watched it probably like a year later. And yeah, really enjoyed it. I think it's really sort of like unique. Unfortunately, like the final 30 minutes, like you just want more of that, don't you? I mean, if there was a whole film based on that final 30 minutes, it would sit a lot. I mean, it would be great.
Can you believe that when they finished this film, they didn't want to... I didn't know about the thing about Thor, but they weren't going to release it. They sort of held on to it because I didn't think they thought it was very good. But and then they did like some test screenings and it went down really well and stuff. This is like such a good film. It's like it does like the horror and the meta element both really well, like pitch perfect. I didn't know anything about it when I first watched it, and I remember, in The Wizard of Oz where there's that line when they're finally knows and goes, "We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto." There's a bit where they go on the elevator down into the subterranean thing. I was like, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore. I have no idea what's going to happen now, and that like very rarely happens. And I just think it's a great film. This is up there to me with Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz in terms of a film about a genre, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. And I think of a lot of horror films that you've covered, it's one that I could watch very regularly. Like it's one that if I turned on the TV and it was on, wouldn't matter if I watched it last week, I'd probably sit down and watch it play out.
Yeah, me too, yeah. I didn't realise how... I knew it was funny the first time I watched it, but I think this is maybe the second or third time I've seen it now, but there's jokes now that I didn't realise were there in the first time.
Yeah.
There's a bit where she's like reading they've got like the journal thing, and the guy's saying, don't read it, and then there's like a whispering voice that says, read it. And then he goes, what was that? He goes, read it out loud. Like, I didn't pick up any of those at first, but it's so like, I don't know, it's so played for laughs, but yeah, it's good. Yeah, so did you not know Joss Whedon co-wrote it, Ben, or did you?
Well, maybe I just wasn't paying attention, it seems.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think I did. Or maybe I did, but I forgot. But yeah, that's news to me.
Yeah, it's got all like, it's got some Joss Whedon actors who seem to appear in a lot of his stuff. A few people, I don't know the names of people, but should we talk about going to the meat of it a bit more?
Yeah,
dive on in.
Cool. So key players, we've got Kristen Connolly, who plays Dana. Her stereotype is like the virgin girl, sort of the sweet girl. Chris Hemsworth, who isn't as muscly as he is when we see him as 4. But when we see him as 4, he's like twice
inhumanly large.
Yeah, he's got twice as many muscles. He plays like the jock. Anna Hutchison plays Jules, who's the whore. She's not actually a whore. She's just that's the sort of stereotype that kind of pushes her into.
Just a bit attractive and a bit flirtatious.
Yeah.
Whore.
Fran Kranz plays the stoner Marty. He's a bit of like a shaggy sort of character.
Yeah.
Jesse Williams plays Holden, who I kind of thought was a bit of jock at first, but then I think he sort of becomes more and more of the... What did he call him? Like, did it make him
the professor or something like that? Then they call it, yeah.
The academic, they're gonna make
the academic is the one, yeah. And then Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford play Citizen and Hadley, which are like they're like the best character. Like someone needs to cosplay these people because they're just so funny. What would you like what do you call those guys? The behind the scenes government employed.
Yeah, they're at the control desk.
Oh, directors, aren't they? Yeah,
directors.
Everything goes to plan. Yeah.
Yeah. How does it start?
Yeah, so it kind of starts in the underground tech facility where those technicians are kind of just like wandering about, talking about standard like office stuff, but then they start talking about sort of failures in certain areas, and you start to understand that it's maybe a little bit different than just like your standard run-of-the-mill office chat.
It didn't sound like they're talking about anything horror related, does it? I don't think at first.
No. They kind of say that their counterparts in Stockholm have just failed or something like that.
Yeah.
Just guffed one up. Yeah. But what else is Richard Jenkins in? I've seen him in many things, I'm sure, but
he's in loads of stuff, and isn't he like also in Step Brothers as the dad?
Yeah, he's the dad.
Oh, yeah.
He's Dobek.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he's in tons of stuff as like the dad and stuff like that, isn't he? Yeah, very funny guy.
Yeah. And then so they're doing like the mundane talk, and then the Cabin in the Woods horror like titles pops up, and then we get
it's like a jump scare title.
Just appears out of nowhere, doesn't it? Well, they're driving sort of like the little buggy, little Austin Powers style buggy.
Yeah.
It just pops up right there in bright red text, and is pretty terrifying. Yeah.
And then we get like the intro to every single like slasher movie, every single Cabin in the Woods style horror movie, where you've got like the interaction between all the teenagers getting ready to go for a weekend away in the woods. I really like that they weren't quite the full stereotypes yet. Like Thor was professor, wasn't quite the jock at that point, but
yeah, he doesn't give her like some reading advice like, oh, you want to read this textbook, it's much more interesting.
Yeah. And then he's when he sees that what's her name's just in her pants, he seems quite like shy about it, kind of coy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see them start from that place. So where did the cabin come from?
Like his cousin has just bought it, right?
Okay.
That's what they said. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So they all pile into these mystery wagon type things, and then Marty the stoner arrives with his bong.
With his bong.
Coffee cup thing.
Thermos mug thing. Yeah. Okay, and then they shoot straight off. Is that right? And then
they literally just load the car up, don't they? And then the old dusty trail.
And then they go to fill up on the gas. This reminds me of so many other horror. Like it's played to sound exactly like every single horror film. So they stop for gas, and there's a creepy guy. I'm sure they use the exact same scene in Hills of Eyes.
Yeah.
The guy comes out.
He's chewing tobacco and gozzling everywhere.
There's a bit of me laugh where he says, I lost something in the war. And she goes, which war? And he goes, you know damn well which war. And obviously he's never been any war. So, yeah, what's happening underground at this point? I'm sure we're like cutting between the two.
Sorry, Ben, go.
I was about to say they were going to take bets, but I think that's a little bit later on, and yeah. So I think they're sort of just like monitoring them, and then obviously then they head to the cabin, and pretty much just start. What happens at the cabin when they first arrive? They just look around a little bit.
They look around, and we have the bit with the two-way mirror, and I guess it's a tough one to go through, isn't it? Because the whole film, right until the third act, when it all comes together, it does almost run like in parallel. Like you'll have your two storylines that are sort of working one to the other. It does chop and change between them, so it is harder to keep track of. But yeah, it begins in the cabin with them, the friend of Chris Hemsworth, who he goes into that bedroom and he lifts the really gross picture of like someone being ripped apart by dogs off, and it's the two-way mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so when did they start partying? I'm pretty sure that happens quite quickly, right?
It's pretty soon afterwards, isn't it? They have like literally a token amount of swimming.
Yeah.
They swim for like about 5 minutes and then get their drink on. I guess the only detail that plays any relevance later on is that as they're driving up to the cabin, you see that eagle fly into the force field, don't you? But it's just nonsense, really. That you just see them having fun and doing the fun bit before the murders begin, and that's cut with the guys in
the petrol station guy, the gas station guy calls.
Oh, that's brilliant!
Richard Jenkins.
Am I on speaker?
Oh yeah,
that is so rude. I don't know who's in the room.
Yeah, I think they did a really cool thing when they employ like a new security guard, and they can kind of use him as a way to set the rules of the film, because he's always like, wait, why are you doing things this way?
Yeah.
And it's because they sort of have to explain to sort of train him in. But I like how they sort of keep the mystery going. They don't tell you exactly what's going on. They just make it sound very I don't know, high stakes. Things are going to go wrong if they don't do it and all this kind of stuff. But so then they break out the drugs. They start partying. It's late in the cabin, and then
have a classic game of truth or dare, don't they?
Yeah.
Which culminates in the whore. Sorry, I referred to her now. Making out with like a stuffed wolf's head.
A wolf's face, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was. I don't know how I felt about that. I felt confused.
Yeah, right. We all did. Yeah.
Conflicted.
The government people would talk about. I think they're pumping hormones or something into the.
They're pumping hormones in, and they've done something with the girl's hair dye. It's like because they're meant to make her, because she's meant to be like a medical student, and they make her stupid by giving her the hair dye.
There's the bit where Chris Hemsworth like ruffles his mate's head and calls him an egghead.
Yeah,
and the guy's like, he's like the top. He's on like a scholarship. He's like one of the smartest guys in the school. He just called me an egghead. Makes no sense. And then so they're all playing. I think things are getting a little bit crazy, and then the trapdoor blows open, and one of them says, "It must be the wind."
Yeah, and that's the great part about the Stoner character. I love it, and especially watching it after the first time, he literally calls bullshit on every single. Like, how does that make any sense that the wind would blow open a basement door? Yeah,
there's a bit where he talks about the puppeteers, and what's the name says puppeteers, and he went Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts. Yeah. It's cool, man. Like they just seem to nail the character archetypes work in the meta side of it as well. Like the idea of the stoner character knowing about the government, people pulling the strings, works both in the horror film itself and the stuff outside of it. It's just so cleverly put together.
And I guess that's the thing as well, that like you have that character in a Friday the 13th or something like that, where there isn't a government pulling the strings, but the dialogue could be almost exactly the same. And I think that's why it works so well, because you have not just that character, but all of them. Those character archetypes, you've seen them in countless slasher movies, and then it's exactly the same, but it's got a little bit more depth to it, because effectively what these guys are doing, I think this comes up in one of the early conversations in the control room, it's that they don't just have to make sure this happens, but the beasties or whoever that they have to do it for, they also need it to be entertaining. So effectively they have to become movie directors, and they've got to make these schlocky horror movies for these like gods or what have you.
To please yeah. They talk about how in different countries, I think we even get to see a bit of this. In different countries, they have their own cultures. So in Japan, they've got like a Ringu style creepy female ghost schoolgirl character
killing kids. Yeah,
I think they sort of set the scene that other places are failing as well. Like normally, everyone kind of fails once every now and again, but Japan have 100% strike rate or something.
Yeah, it's almost like each country is doing their own version of like a cliched horror film associated with that country.
Yeah.
And trying to kill people.
What ones were there? There was the King Kong style one. I saw.
There's a King Kong one that you see. The Spanish one, you see like a mountain shack like on fire when they failed.
Yeah.
I think a Swedish one maybe, you see like a helicopter flying over something that's wrecked. I'm not sure if that's the King Kong one or not, but it's one of those things where you almost wish you could dive into the movie and look at more of this stuff in the background. There's a bit Ben, you mentioned they're taking the bets later on, and I guess we'll come to that in a minute, but I've previously, you pause it on the whiteboard and see all the things that they've got written up, all the different monsters it could be. It's brilliant.
They've got one of the things on the board says something like raping tree or something like, the tree from Evil Dead, like the tree that rapes or something like that. They've all got really funny names. I've got some trivia about a particular one, but I think it's got like one of the best names ever. But
I won't say what I was about to then. I was going to pull out a favourite that I saw on today's watching, but I'll...
Okay, you might have seen someone as me. Okay, so now we're in parallel. So as they go down into the basement, and there's all this kind of bits from basically just from other horror films. So there's like the puzzle box, which I absolutely love to see the puzzle box there.
Yeah.
It's like a diary.
There's a music box. There's a roll of film.
Yeah, like a necklace as well.
Yeah.
A conch. Chris Hemsworth goes to blow the conch, but he decides not to. And at the same time, they're all starting to place bets on what... I don't think we even find out what it is exactly what they're placing bets on at first, right?
No, you don't see. I mean,
not really. No.
Watching it a second time, you can see the stuff in the background and everything, but no one openly says I'm betting on this right now.
Yeah.
You just see that they're taking some sort of pool on everything.
Yeah. And there's a whole team, so they've got different like engineering teams and there's a lot of people getting involved in this thing. So right at the point where they're all sort of starting to play with these little objects, you're never really sure which one is going to be the one. And then I think that our main girl, the virgin, what is her name? I don't know.
Is it Dana, or is that the other girl's name?
Dana. Yeah.
Dana.
And she says, "Guys, listen to this." And everyone stops what they're doing, puts down the stuff, and it goes to her. So it's her journal that sort of sets off the events and summons the Buckner family. What do they call them? Torture.
Yeah, the zombie torture redneck family. Redneck torture family.
Yeah. So then engineering wins that.
The pool.
The pool, yeah. And some woman's like, "No, I picked zombies as well." Yeah, but they're not. It's a different kind of zombies.
It's like a seal and an elephant seal. They're different.
Oh yeah.
So then Chris Hemsworth and what's her face are getting horny. Did they pump the pheromones out at that point? I guess again
they do a nice bit of direction that they pump the pheromones through the mist and then make like a nice sort of moonlit clearing.
Yeah.
And like she says at the beginning, like, "Oh, I'm a bit cold." She's like, "Oh, turn the heating up in here."
Yeah. This is like the first death scene here. So we see like the zombie torture redneck family, the Buckner family coming out and sort of going towards them. This is the first death. This is the other girl, that I can't remember the name of, the blonde girl, she it's quite violent, this first death.
Yeah.
They get attacked.
Pretty gruesome.
Yeah. And what's it, like the one in the Buckton family who's got like a, I don't even know how this makes sense, he's got like a bear trap on a on a chain. As a weapon.
Yeah.
Everyone's got like a saw. Someone's got like some just knives and shit.
Yeah. So Jules, I think her name's Jules.
Jules, yeah.
Gets her head lobbed off, and Kurt gets attacked.
Yeah, he somehow gets away though. We didn't really see him. He gets away off screen, didn't he? And goes back to the cabin.
It's got a thunder though, isn't he? He can sort it out.
Yeah, get out of it.
Yeah.
So she gets done in, doesn't she, with like the really old, literally the type of saws you get at like your school for when you're on GCSE woodwork, that type of quality.
Yeah.
Like rusty old flimsy blades, but it goes through her neck like anyone's business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what's his name decides to go for a walk. Is that right? I'm getting a bit confused. So
yeah, that's true. He's in the cabin, and that's another bit where he's in his room, and there's those whispery voices that you hear saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go for a walk," and he sort of like, you're not the boss of me. I'm not gonna do what you tell me. So fuck you. I'm gonna go for a walk, and he heads out.
Yeah.
As when he walks past the Dana and the other guy, whose name I'm not going to be able to recall, they're smooching on the old sofa, aren't they? And he walks past and points out that he has a husband's bulge.
Yeah. So the stoner guy goes out, and then Chris Hemsworth bumps into him. Is that?
Yes, like you see, it's one of those horrible scenes where you have a horror film and someone isn't looking, you can see someone coming up behind them. One of the zombie families coming up behind the stoner guy, and she's getting and he looks around and she's disappeared into the shadows, and then she's almost got him, and then Chris Hemsworth comes piling out and like plows into him, and they clothesline the little girl over. He comes in and gives a proper like clothesline from hell, knocks her flat on her back. And then they pile back into the house and start barricading it up. Yeah,
I think one of the Buckner family people lobs in June.
Yeah,
his head at some point.
Dana refuses to leave without a friend. Opens the door, and the zombie has had the foresight, thinking, "Keep hold of this head. This will come in for a good scare later on."
Yeah.
She opens the door, and he's standing there with it and lozes it in.
Yeah. So at this point, I think we kind of realise that Japan has failed their thing.
Yeah, it's about now.
Because all the school kids are like singing a song. And
turn into a little frog.
Yeah. And then it cuts to Richard Jenkins getting like just saying "fuck you" to the little school kids.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to say, when they killed Jules, whatever, in the control room they have like a little lever that, I don't know where the blood's coming from, but it kind of squirts blood into this.
Is it draining down? Because I guess they controlled the whole environment, right?
Yeah, good point.
It must be. Yeah, it must be. I was a bit confused by that, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a weird moment because it's quite like a light-hearted sort of frivolous world downstairs. They're all doing their bets and everything, but then they have quite a solemn moment, don't they? It's like, oh, we offer you this sacrifice, and they pull that lever and it all starts coming down.
Yeah.
It's sort of the first hint that it is a serious thing, and they're not just having a laugh.
I was looking at some of the like letterbox reviews of this film, because in my mind, like, this is like a really solid, great film. And saw some reviews. Some people were saying they didn't think the scares were particularly scary because it wasn't like, it was a little tongue in cheek. But I don't know. I thought it was quite scary. I found them quite effective, as much as like I do any of a slasher film or anything.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me. It's a very competently made. If you were to take out, it'd be a short film because half the runtime would be cut out. But if you cut out all of the underground stuff, you could play that as a straight short horror film. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just as a cut of that movie on its own.
Yeah, like it's really effective.
Yeah.
In fact, more effective than a lot I've seen. I've seen a lot of shit. But so they're trying to get away. Chris Hemsworth says we should stick together as they go into the cabin, and then Richard Jenkins squirts some pheromones with some controls, and he goes, "We should split up." So then they decide to go all into separate rooms, which doesn't make any sense. They kind of lock them in. Is this the point where the stoner finds the camera, and I think they kind of realise that the jig, is dangerous. They might be up.
And then the guy pulls him out the window, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he's onto them. He's when they're locking themselves in the rooms, he knocks his lamp over or something. Then he's looking down the camera, and he's freaking out. And they're like, "Oh no, we are busted!" And then one of the zombie folk come in and they drag him out the window,
stab him in the back, drag him into like a hole in the ground, and then like if this was like a standard slash film, this would be his time to die. Like it's about right time for that character to go. So they pull the lever, say a little prayer, he's gone, and then we're just left with Chris Hemsworth, Dana, and his mate,
old Egghead.
They get into the RV and they say, "Look, we're just going to go." There's an interesting little bit just to add a bit more drama into the behind the scenes side of it, where they haven't blown the tunnel or something. I'm not
it was meant to blow.
Why haven't they blown it? Because later on they say they got an order from the director, but then
they said they didn't get the order. Like the demolitions guys, he's having a go at them, and they said, "Oh, we never got the order. There was something like power got diverted or something like that." So I don't think it's ever properly explained, but for whatever reason, it hasn't blown up, has it? So you have Richard Jenkins as like a mad dash.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
swap it out some hard drives or something.
He's very well qualified because I wouldn't have done that. I might have tried to reset the computer or something. I wouldn't have rub these wires together,
turn it off and on again. That's what he did. Yeah. So he blows the tunnel, so they have to come back. They're kind of stuck because they can't go back to the cabin, and they go, we can't just jump. And then Chris Hemsworth sees his bike and goes, "Oh yeah, I can do it." And this is the point where, like, it's I remember the first time I watched this, I did think Chris Hemsworth was going to be the hero of the because I'd seen Thor by this point, and he was a big name.
Yeah,
it's a real like hero's moment as well when he sort of like starts revving his bike and starts ready to make the jump over the ravine.
He says something like I think
don't hold back or something.
Don't hold back. It's like
never do.
You could put on like the Independence Day music, couldn't you? And he'd just go.
So he goes to jump over, slams into the same force field we saw in the. Even when that was happening, I couldn't quite believe it. Like, cause it seems quite violent. Like he seems to be like.
It's pretty brutal, yeah.
Yeah.
He sort of rolls down it, doesn't he? Getting like he's like bounces off it several more times as he goes down, and that really surprised. I remember watching it, and obviously you see the eagle earlier on, so it's been telegraphed. But there's so much else going on in the film that as he was doing that run up to that thing, I didn't think it's force field there. Like it completely escapes you. Yeah. And then when it happens, it hasn't come out of the blue. I get it why they put the eagle in there, because if there was just a force field that they hadn't shown, you'd be like
that's the hand of God.
That's bullshit. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that left me pretty shook the first time. So then, what's his name? Decided to drive back. The other two decided to drive back through the woods, and he's going to drive on until they get to the other side or something. Then he gets a knife through the throat or something.
One of the zombies is in the back of the RV, right? Yeah, and he's been waiting patiently for this whole time.
Yeah. How far into the film are we at this moment? Because it feels like we're coming towards the end of the film within the film.
Yeah, end of the second act you're coming towards now, because he stabs the guy, and then in his dying thing, he sort of slumps over the wheel and he takes them off into the lake, right?
Yeah. And then, so she climbs out, and everyone starts celebrating on the underground facility. Because
they point out to the soldier guy he's like your character they explain things to, right? He points out that, oh no, she doesn't have to die, it's optional. So they've like got, the celebration music on.
There's a really funny bit where, not Richard Jenkins, the other guy, is saying, over the course of this thing, I think I've really learned to to like this girl, and he just kind of trails off when he sees people coming in for the party
with
and he
tequila.
goes, tequila.
Yeah.
And then they're all sort of dancing.
While she's getting attacked in the background.
Yeah, she's been like slammed on the floor by this guy.
And they're all having a proper boogie.
Yeah,
that's good. And then to get the call from above or something from Ripley.
from the boss. Yeah, Ripley gives him a shout.
Yeah. Which
And
one?
I guess they point out that someone else isn't dead, right?
Yeah. I don't understand how what's his name kills the zombie guy. Could he just use his bong thing?
He catches the bear trap chain with his bong / coffee cup.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then Dana rips up like a plank of wood.
Okay.
Gives him a smack in the chops with the plank, and he falls in the water. I think you see him get back out, but
Right.
Yeah.
he's out the game.
Yeah, but that's it. We don't see him again, do we? After that.
Yeah.
Okay, so and those two. Oh no, the stoner takes her back to under the ground.
Yeah, because he's gone into the grave where the zombies came out of.
Yeah.
And you see he's got one of them, the one that dragged him off, and you see like splatters of blood. So
Yeah.
it must be revealed that he got the zombie instead, and he's chopped it up and it's in bits on the floor.
Yeah.
And then he's mucking about with the wires, and he gets the little thing to open.
This is the bit I was talking about. So this is we're not in Kansas anymore. This is the bit where it just feels like I've no idea. And so they get in the elevator, and it just sort of goes towards the thing, and then you start to see all of the other monsters and stuff. And it's like a like Lovecraftian sort of proportions. There's so many of these elevator things full of these monsters and stuff. And I was just blown away. I think this is my favorite part of the film, just seeing all of those things in one place.
Yeah, because it's almost like each time it reveals one is almost like a jump scare as well, isn't it? Because it'll sort of like go completely dark as the elevator sort of moves along, or moves up or moves down, and then suddenly something just comes towards the glass. You get like a werewolf in this moment.
Ben, did you pick up on there's a ghost, like a ghost sort of spectre, like what they call it, spectre type thing. Did you pick up on the 13 ghost noises? They're like the same sort of sound effects.
Oh, really? Sort of like that weird, sort of like backwards, sort of like oh.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not too sure if they use those noises as a sort of.
I mean, this bit was a bit reminiscent of 13 Ghosts, with like the big sort of like moving pieces of like the clear house.
Yeah,
it reminded me of that a little bit.
Yeah,
and now you mention it, if that guy who played the stoner was unavailable, could you not have had the guy from 13 Ghosts?
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, he could have done it.
Yeah, he could have. Yeah. Well, yeah, because the guy is playing Shaggy from Scooby Doo, basically.
Yeah.
And Matthew Lillard plays a pretty good Shaggy.
The role he was born to play.
Yeah. So what monsters do we see? So there's a little ballerina kid who I guess would be the music box. Thing, with like a worm, like a leech face.
Lots of loads of teeth.
Sarlacc face.
There's a Hellraiser man.
Yeah.
Legally distinct from Hellraiser man.
Yeah.
You've got the werewolf. You have the ghosts, and then as you zoom out, obviously you see more. You definitely pick up. There's like a crazy robot thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is like some big
snake.
bats. There's some spiders.
The clown.
Yeah.
A unicorn. Just some weird.
I don't know whether this is just one of these rumors that turns out not to be true, but apparently, if you zoom in very closely when you've got it paused, you guys ever play Left 4 Dead?
Yeah,
I've heard.
Apparently, the monsters from that were meant to be in some of those boxes, because at the time there was meant to be some type of cross promotion. They were going to do a Left 4 Dead level based on Cabin in the Woods, and it fell through, and they never did it.
Yeah.
But
is it like the Boomer or something like that? Or...
I think it's the Boomer and the Smoker, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
But cool. I haven't gone back and paused it, and got the magnifying glass to the TV.
So they go into the underground. The lift opens. The guy with a gun goes to shoot them, but he has to shoot the stoner first, because the virgin can't die, otherwise it's sort of ruin the thing. One of the zombie arms that what's his name cut up earlier attacks him. they kill the security guard, get inside, and as I'd say, this is maybe people's favourite bit, where a whole SWAT team of people come down, and there's like 6 or 9 elevator doors,
lifts, yeah.
And they kind of all open at once, and I mean it is pretty great.
Yeah.
I don't
There's
know
so much.
how to describe
There's
it.
so much to take. There's so much to take in. It's just absolute pure carnage. And I like how the elevators ding and all the monsters come out immediately. There's no none of them are like unsure about anything. They seem to be perfectly fine existing amongst each other as well. Like they don't attack each other.
No monsters bothered about any other monsters. They've formed some sort of alliance.
Yeah.
It's just brutal. And then obviously when it cuts away and some more SWAT team arrive, we see it's just absolutely covered in blood.
Yeah.
There's no like bits of people, are there? There's just a red floor.
Doesn't the same thing happen again? So a second SWAT team arrives, and you just hit a ding, and it sort of cuts
and then
away.
More
again.
come out.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's horrific, and they're sort of like hidden in like the little office area, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it was at this moment I thought that would be horrible to just be in that little office area where it's all happening outside. It's just brutal.
Yeah.
In many ways, though, the shady organisation that was doing this were really asking for it. That's a very poor placement of a button that anyone can just press.
The big red button, isn't it? Like, why would there be that sort of...
It's just like,
why would there be just
purge.
one button to let them all out? Because you're like, well, we don't ever want to let them all out, so why have we got a button that lets them all out?
Yeah, why would you ever need that button?
In fairness to them, she had to flick a switch and then press the button.
Right.
You know? So it'd be very difficult to do it by accident.
That feels like the kind of button you need a key to activate. Yeah.
Or might be maybe even a locked office.
Maybe even locked office. Like any of the SWAT team could be having a bad day. Could have got fired or something, and just like,
right, that's it. Fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. So now, like chaos is like, it's spilling out into the facility. I think our 2 characters are forced on only because this giant killer bat flies into their office.
Through the window.
Yeah.
So now, like every sort of like horror film you've watched in the past is sort of. So like the Hellraiser people, there's some weird like. There's a guy hung upside down on chains, and they're doing some sort of weird prayer for him. There's a unicorn impaling a guy over and over again.
It's some of the background detail as well as incredible. But like when the guys come running out of the office that they're in, they walk past I think it's like a little girl who you never see the face of, just walking slowly towards a man on the other side of the corridor, and you never see what happens. You just see her walking incredibly stiffly and slowly towards him. But it's one of those other bits of the film where they have there's one bit where there's like a bank of monitors and you can see all the things that are happening. But
there's so many bits where you just want to pause it, and I wonder how long it took to like logistically kind of think all this through. The makeup as well, for sure.
Time.
All the guys, I think, as far as Hollywood films or horror films I've seen go, this must have been one of either the hardest or most fun to work on, like the set and the design team. Can you imagine all the fun they had making all the props for that basement even?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The guy who came up with the puzzle box. I'm just amazed at that.
It was like a day of like no bad ideas. Like they had like a brainstorming session, whack it all in, we'll make all of this.
I wonder if in the script they were like listed out all these different monster things, or they just went, all the like load of monsters. Yeah.
Load of monsters turned up.
They just sent that to the production company. Here, make us loads of monsters.
This is a stack of DVDs. There's like a Pennywise the clown who sort of character which I actually found kind of creepy. He's like giggling like maniacally as he's stabbing people slowly.
Yeah. Getting shot and just not reacting, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's horrid scarecrows that get the army guy.
Oh, they rip them. Is that what they were? Scarecrows? I didn't know what they were.
Yeah, lots of Hessian involved.
Yeah, rip
loads
them apart.
Loads of Hessian.
You know what? So I missed it, but and I was like, what the fuck happened to that girl? I turned away for like a second and looked back, and she was like been swooped away. It was the girl who's like the main liaison or whatever between
the chemistry person who they always make fun of for her department fucking up the previous year. A big octopus tentacle comes from the ceiling and just takes her.
Yeah. So they're trying to get away at Richard Jenkins and the other guy, as we forgot to mention the whole Merman thing throughout the film. So, so his in the betting pool earlier in the film, he wanted his was the Merman, right?
Yeah, and he wanted Chris Hemsworth to blow that conch so badly.
Yeah. He falls over, and then this is a really good scene. Like sort of slow, kind of. There's like nice music, and you see this really awkward flapping face thing, sort of coming towards him. And then so what happens now?
It kind of like starts gorging on him, and like all the blood starts going out through like his blowhole.
Yeah,
it's horrible. It is horrible.
Our two main characters are surviving somehow. They're running. I don't know what their goal is.
They sort of went into a hole in the wall. I think they come out of the office where they press the purge system button, and they run along and they see these zombies coming from them in one direction, so they're not going to be able to escape. So they dive into a hole in the wall that I think the big bat monster makes.
Okay.
Yeah. And they sort of go. A bit like how they've got into this place in the first place. They get sort of behind the scenes by going through a gap in the wall rather than following, the corridors that are full of monsters.
Yeah, and at some point not too sure how. Okay, so Richard Jenkins runs around the corner. He's like the last of their team, and then he gets stabbed kind of by accident by Dana, who's just holding a knife out. He says you should kill him, as in the stoner guy. They somehow work their way to, I guess, what would be the old-fashioned, where they used to do the ritual sacrifices at some point.
When it was just like a temple.
Yeah. So then you've got like the sigils that sort of demarcate the different stereotypes.
And this is where the blood's been going the whole time, right? So this is where, when they were pulling those levers earlier, that stuff was going down.
But they're all blooded. All of them, including the stoner guy's one, I think. So I don't think it necessarily is their blood. I think it's just
I guess they set it off because they assumed he was dead, right?
Yeah. Okay, so now right at the end, Sigourney Weaver shows up. I think there's a few films where Sigourney Weaver just pops up right at the end. As the boss
she's been
character.
doing it a lot recently.
Yeah.
Sorry, just twisting around because my legs are paralysed. Oh.
How are you feeling?
Oh god. Not literally, I hope.
Yeah, well, no, I think that if they still work, the amount of pain would indicate they do still function.
So Sigourney Weaver shows up. She says, basically, lays out the rules of it. So if he doesn't die, it will be the end of the world. The old ones will arise, destroy the planet. It'll be the end of everything.
And then she does a nice little speech, doesn't she? She says, "You can die with them, or pause. You can die for them." And he's having none of it, right? He's like, well,
neither, really.
They're both such great options.
Yeah. But then Dana kind of sees the logic in it, points the gun at him. She says sorry. He says sorry because there's a werewolf coming behind her. Moles are pretty bad.
That's pretty horrific as well.
How does Sigourney Weaver die?
Well, so Dana gets mauled by the werewolf, but the stoner guy then shoots the werewolf a few times, and it doesn't kill it because it's a werewolf, but it thinks better of it, just buggers off, and then he wrestles with Sigourney Weaver, and I think she's getting the upper hand and is like beating him for a bit, and then they sort of roll over like a classic Hollywood fight. But then the little girl from the zombie redneck torture family, she also comes down, and I think she gives Sigourney Weaver an axe to the head.
Yeah, and then the stoner boots him off the side into
oblivion
thing. Is that the girl whose arm was earlier in the film?
Yeah, she mentions it in the diary, doesn't she, that her arm was chewed up and ate.
I recognise the girl, and I did have to check. She is the little girl from Silent Hill.
Is she?
Really?
Yeah, she is. Cool. Like the little girl who obviously goes missing, and she's
found the niche.
Has she been typecast as creepy little girl?
Creepy girl, yeah. But then this was quite a few years after, so I don't think she was even how many years after was it? So Cabin in the Woods was 2012.
Yeah.
Silent Hill was 2006. I suppose only 6 years. So 6 years later, she can't still be a little girl. She's just really holding on to that. She's just like, oh, well, I can still be a creepy little girl.
Giving her anti-growth hormones.
Yeah.
Smoking cigarettes, stunting her growth.
Yeah.
You're 18 years old. I could play a 12-year-old, honest.
Okay, so the film pretty much ends with them smoking a doobie.
Saying, oh, I'm sorry I was going to shoot you. I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. I'm sorry I let you get attacked by the werewolf.
So, nah.
Humankind would probably end anyway. And then the old one emerges, kind of like a Lovecraftian horror, just to sort of finish it all off. Like, this film's so good. I love how it ends. It doesn't even end like how normal. It doesn't end particularly well. But,
doesn't sequel bait just finishes like everyone's. Yeah. I guess we assume that everyone is going to be dead.
Yeah, the whole world is going to be tortured for eternity, or whatever they say. Yeah.
Happy ending.
Yeah. So I got some trivia. If you guys are ready for it.
Always.
Okay, cool. Number 1. The special effects, monster costumes, special makeup, and prosthetics for the movie were done by a veteran horror film actress. Can you name the horror film actress? And I'll give you a clue if you can't. It's a bit vague. But have you guys got any ideas?
Veteran horror film
actress.
Did all the makeup.
Still an actress? Still an actress now?
If she is, I've not seen her in anything.
Oh.
But she's kind of famous. She's kind of like a horror royalty, sort of. One of those final girls.
I was going to say Jamie Lee Curtis. Seems too obvious. Plus, she's definitely still active.
In that case, I'm going to guess Heather Langenkamp. Is it the Freddy girl?
Yeah, Heather Langenkamp. She plays Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh yes.
So she. I've actually listened to an interview before. She basically co-owns an effects studio with the guy she met on Nightmare on Elm Street, who did the makeup effects for that.
Oh, okay.
And this was one of their biggest jobs I think they've ever done. They were saying how they had to make up about 1,000 people or something like that. So there's like 60 different monster types, but like 1,000 people were playing those different monster types. So pain.
Probably 20 odd people in that snake, I guess. It's quite a long.
Yeah. Heather Langenkamp's well played, man. I don't think anyone was going to get that.
I wouldn't have got it without the clue that it was like horror royalty.
Okay,
and Ben fell on his sword by guessing Jamie Lee Curtis first.
Oh right, yeah. Okay, number 2. So this is the question. We were talking about this earlier. Can you name the Pinhead parallel in the movie? He's got a really good name.
Oh, what the one that she was staring at for a while?
Yeah, the guy who kind of is the equivalent.
Pinhead he's got like saws in his head, and saw head.
I'm gonna go saw face.
Okay, his name is Fornicus, Lord of Bondage and Pain.
I think either of the names we came up with are probably slightly better, more accurate description.
That's Luke's nickname.
Fornicus, or
he's given himself both.
Lord of Bondage and Pain.
For the modern era, Thornicus, Lord of Bondage and Pain.
Well, so the Cenobites in Hellraiser, I don't think it ever says in the films, but they're the Order of the Gash. So there is a. That's what they're called in the books and in the sort of history of them. Okay, number 3. The thermal coffee mug bong was a fully functional mug and a bong. The prototype cost $5,000 to make. True or false?
No.
Jesus, true.
Yeah, they like the drugs in Hollywood, don't they? True.
Yeah, true. $5,000 to make it.
Yeah.
And apparently it worked. It worked as a thermos and as a bong. Okay, number 4. Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard wrote the script. Can you guess how many days it took them to write the script?
But Drew Goddard what did he make? Cloverfield? Possibly. They strike me as two busy guys who probably wouldn't have much time to meet up and write a script together. So I'm going to say 5 days.
Okay, good guess, Andy.
I'm going to go for. Am I going to Price is Right you and go one like no? I'll go 10 days.
3 days. They wrote a script in 3 days. They used to write together on Buffy and some other stuff. So Cloverfield, I think Drew Goddard was involved. Did he direct that? Or did he just write it? I don't know, but he was also the showrunner of Daredevil, like the first season.
I know he hasn't done many films, but I know isn't he on for X-Force? I think he's down to direct X-Force.
Is he? That's cool.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, last one. According to the director, Mr. Drew Goddard, which scene in the film tested the highest with audiences?
Well,
it's got to be the lift, doesn't it?
It's got to be the lift, yeah. It's got to be.
It was the Merman sequence.
So
for whatever reason, everyone loved that bit. I think you guys did alright. I don't know what the score was. Let's call it 3 out of 5.
There we go.
Standard. Yeah. Okay, so we need to rate the film. Would anyone like to go first?
I think I'd give it a solid B+. I don't think I'd stray as far to go for an A. Like, I do really enjoy it. I know Andy said that if it was on, you'd probably just watch it, but I don't know if I like it as much as that.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it, and it's definitely one I'd probably watch every couple of years or so. But yeah.
So just a quick one, Ben. Are you a Joss Whedon fan? Like, did you grow up like watching? Because I do feel like he's got a very certain voice, and this film is very much that sort of voice.
Yeah.
Did you grow up watching Angel and Buffy?
Yeah,
and stuff like that?
Okay. I watched a lot of Buffy growing up and that. So yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
What about you, Andy? What are you going for?
I'm going to go slightly higher. I'm going to go for an A-. I would go higher because I do love this movie. I think because if we're rating truly horror films here, like as we've said earlier on, like it's a really competently made horror film. But I think if I wanted to sit down and watch something that was truly scary and it was having what I call a horror night, then maybe this wouldn't be the first film I'd choose. But I still love it and would watch it very regularly.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I don't mean it's I wouldn't watch this film for the horror. Like I'd watch it because it makes me really laugh, and it's kind of amazing. Like it's got lots of awesome sequences and stuff. But so I was on the cusp of A-, but I am kind of aware that the next 10, 12 films are all probably going to rate super high. So I think I'm going to have to go with a B+ as well. Like it's just because it's not particularly scary, but it is just a really fucking great film.
What you're saying, Luke, that it's no cat people. That's what you're telling me.
No cat people.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, just thinking about it.
Okay, so there we go. There's Cabin in the Woods. Next week, we think we're going with Deep Blue Sea. A little bit of
Ladies Love Cool James.
Say again?
A little bit of Ladies Love Cool James.
Ladies Love Cool James, yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's all we're going to say. Anyone else got anything to add before we finish up? Andy,
no.
You need a massage?
Oh, 2 or 3, mate.
That's enough. 2 or 3 massages, one after the other.
Yeah, literally back to back.
That's just one big one.
Yeah.
One big massage.
maybe a cup of tea between each time. Either that, or maybe just someone to just sit and stroke my hair and tell me that everything's going to be okay for a while.
Yeah. Have you had a nice bath before? Like, have you done anything?
A nice bath? I've always had a nice bath. Have you had a nice bath before?
I have had a nice bath on several occasions. Yeah. No, I've never had an ice bath. Maybe it's very good for aching muscles, but to me it also seems hugely unpleasant to throw yourself into an icy bath of water.
The only reason I bring it up is because I saw Eddie Izzard do it and he was screaming in pain, and I was like, I don't know if I'd do that. But okay. So this show is brought to you by Hawk and Cleaver. Head over to hawkandcleaver.com and grab a free book. Become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovacs Kalman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. Give us a rating and review in iTunes, and remember to hit subscribe. Thanks to my co-host Ben for being a real horror dude, and thanks again Andy for coming on and joining us.
Thanks for having us as always, guys. Always good to see you.
Cool. No worries. I'll see you later.